it's not good for the consumer. This is not a consumer amendment. This is absolutely utility driven.
Opponents of Amendment 1, the solar energy question, are speaking out loudly. We will hear this morning from a key supporter.
Listen, this all begins and ends with Florida.
Oh yes, Florida takes center stage again as the nation hurdles toward Election Day.
We did knock on a lot of doors, climb a lot of stairs.
The Clinton campaign works hard to turn out the black vote, but will they get enough souls to the polls? Good morning, welcome. So glad you are here. Take heart, it is almost over.
Are you sure? We hope. Even as candidates and campaigns stage a final get out the vote blitz, nearly half of Florida voters actually have already cast ballots early, in person or by mail, more than 6 million votes. And the split between Democrats and Republicans is a fraction of a difference.
One ballot question that's getting lots of attention is Amendment 1, the Solar Power Energy Amendment. It is one of the most contentious questions on the ballot. It promises to protect Florida consumers, but opponents say it's really only going to protect the profits of the state's big utility companies.
Joe Gibbons is speaking in support of Amendment 1. He is a former state representative from Hallandale Beach who now heads the Energy Equity Alliance. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in, because you got a lot of explaining to do.
I'm the explainer in chief, so I enjoy explaining it. First of all, let's look at what Amendment 1 actually does. It only does 3 simple things. So all the things that people have said about Amendment 1, they simply aren't true. All it does is guarantees the right of people to own or lease solar equipment.
Which they have now.
But they already have that right.
It's not in the Constitution, so therefore
well, it's in the statutes.
But you know, we go to Tallahassee every year. We change the statutes every year, so this guarantees it. That's all. Since we want solar, let's guarantee that we can have it. We can either buy it or we can lease it. It guarantees consumer protection. Right now, on solar, we don't have consumer protection. We simply don't have it. If you don't believe me, all you have to do
is... Consumer protection meaning what?
Google solar fraud, and you'll know exactly what I mean.
We have insurance fraud. That doesn't mean insurance needs to be in the Constitution.
But if you Google solar fraud, you'll see that consumers need to be protected, especially if you look at mature states like Arizona and Nevada that have had solar for a long time and the problems they were having. I was on a panel with the former Attorney General from Arizona. He was telling horror stories about how consumers were getting burned on solar leases, etc. So what we want to do is to put into our Constitution that as we deploy solar, and we want it very badly, that it's done the right way and consumers are protected.
Joe, let me interrupt to simply say, all right, consumer protection is a great thing. Once again, write it into the statutes, write regulations that protect consumers regarding solar.
Okay, but if we put it in the Constitution, we know that it will happen. As you know, I served in the legislature for 8 years, and we know what happens in Tallahassee. They say when we're in session, anything can happen. So if we put it in the Constitution, anything won't happen, and solar will be deployed the right way for everyone.
Let me just set up some optics right here.
Okay.
The 4 big state energy companies are funding the push for this, $20 million plus, FP&L and Duke and Gulf and Tampa Electric. Nobody else at the moment, besides people who are in the energy industry, and you are, sort of, are funding this push. Everybody that works in the public interest, including almost 24 newspapers from around the state, editorialized against it, a slew of, from the political spectrum, a slew of organizations are against it. The only people who are pushing this and pushing it really hard and somewhat, some say deceptively, are the energy companies who want to protect the solar energy as their monopoly. Well, how do you get around those optics?
Well, first of all, on the other side, who is funding the other side? If you talk to Susan Glickman from the Southern Energy Clean Energy Alliance,
environmentalists, League of Women Voters.
No, large solar companies from out of state are funding this. Large solar companies from out of state who want to have unferreted access to our marketplace without any regulation whatsoever.
Well, I haven't seen their expenditures or contributions, but I have looked at Consumers for Smart Solar, which is the political committee that's being funded. to the tune of more than $20 million, really $26 million, by all the utility companies Glenna just mentioned. I mean, they're not in it for altruism. They're in it to protect their interests.
No, but what I'm saying is, since the other side does not disclose how much they've put in it, we don't know how much they've put in it.
Well,
they may have put in as much or more, but we don't know that because...
Okay, well, let's get to the heart of the issue, though. Okay. One of it, the heart of the issue to me, is this issue of subsidizing poor people who can't buy solar. Because at one point the amendment promises power users who, quote, do not choose to install solar power are not required to subsidize the cost of backup power and electric grid access to those who do. Talk to us about subsidizing.
Okay, that is the heart of the matter. That is the real heart of that. That's, all the other things are fine, but there's an issue called net metering.
Right.
And what net metering says is that if in fact you have solar and you generate more electricity than you use, you sell it, you put it back into the grid, and the utility companies pay you retail rate for that electricity you're putting into, not wholesale rate, retail rate. So if they can manufacture it for 5 cents, they got to buy it back from you for 17 cents. If that happens, they go back to the Public Service Commission as solar is deployed, and they want to raise the rates on everyone else who does not have solar.
But that's that doesn't happen now, and B, that's only half the story.
It does.
Because net metering has many, many components. When a customer puts solar panels and generates solar as a consumer and then sells it back to the grid, there's all kinds of benefits, as Brookings Institute has outlined in a report that net metering is actually a net benefit for everybody on this and helps the solar industry grow.
The Arizona Public Utilities Commission, who, as you know, have been very much involved in this, they did a report that says that there's a subsidy of $15 million a year. In fact, if you look at what they say, it says, like many utilities, the Arizona Public Service, the state's largest utility, calls net metering a subsidy. In its recent rate case, the utility reports that its 40,000 solar customers have already caused a $1 billion shift onto non-solar customers. These are empirical numbers. When you look at
excuse me, those I'm going to accept are the numbers in Arizona. I think we need to talk about Florida. And let me go back to the dissent on the ballot issue question from Supreme Court Justice Barbara Parenti, who said that the language of the ballot question, which was approved 4-3, that the language itself is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I
disagree. It's very simple to me. It just spells out the three things that are in the amendment. If you look at the ballot summary, that's all it does. That's exactly all it says. So all this other language and confusion, because the solar industry or the energy industry, from a policy standpoint, is very complex. When you talk about the Brookings Institute, all the things that they talk about that add a value, you can't use them in a rate case because there are no empirical numbers. When utilities go to raise your utility rates, they have to go with hard numbers that can be used in a rate case. The things that they point out, none of them can be used in a rate case.
Let me ask you the question. The opponents of this say that this will have a chilling effect on growing the solar industry in Florida because it'll take away the incentive for people to go out and put on solar. So if the utility companies are so pro-solar and all of the sunny ads about how great solar energy is and they're working for solar energy, how do you explain that the Sunshine State right now lags so far behind so many other states?
New Jersey, Massachusetts, among others, are way in front of where the Sunshine State is.
Well, because, as the industry has grown, the utilities were against it initially. But if you look at solar installations last year, 90% of the solar that was installed were installed by the utility companies, available to everybody. There's this thing called utility scale solar. There's this thing called community solar, where you don't have to own your house in order to take advantage of solar.
But you have to pay the utility companies to use it, instead of putting them on your roof and making your own solar power.
But you're paying them for energy anyway. So you don't need, only 42% of African Americans own their own homes. That means 58% of African Americans take advantage of that. Low income, fixed income.
Rewind. What are those numbers?
42% of African Americans own their own homes. That's it.
Okay.
That means that the rest of the African Americans you have to own a home in order to put solar panels on a home, period.
But if the solar industry grows, and talking about home ownership and solar power is apples and oranges for this discussion, because the growth of the solar industry depends on people and businesses who put it on their homes and businesses. So whether you own or rent doesn't really matter at the moment to grow the solar energy.
I disagree. I think that seniors, they want to take advantage of solar. Low-income people, they want to take advantage of solar, and people of color want to take advantage of solar. And if you look at the policies right now, solar is not available to them. I was at the NAACP.
Because the industry isn't growing in Florida.
It is growing in Florida. It's growing, but what we want to do here is to make sure that it grows for everybody. We want to make the policies inclusive and not exclusive.
All right, well,
if
then
you look
really
at who
are
has
talking
it,
about issues of home ownership, which are legitimate issues. Before we run out of time, Joe, I need to ask you, this week I did a story about the TV ad. Now, it's not run by your outfit. It was run by Consumers for Smart Solar that showed a firefighter saying these are fire safety issues, and that's why we firefighters support Amendment 1.
Right.
And then late in the week, they said, no, we don't endorse this. They got such feedback from firefighters who said, this is malarkey. We don't support Amendment 1.
I didn't like that ad because the ad implied that you're going to have a problem with installations when we have building departments in cities that once you pull a permit and you install the panels correctly, the building department releases the permit. But after that, local governments can do nothing if you have a problem. If you have a contractor that does not come back.
You have code compliance. You have inspectors that go out and inspect these things.
Yeah, but after that, after it complies with the code, if you have a problem later, if we have a Hurricane Matthew and your panel gets blown off your roof and a contractor does not come back and take care of you, who are you going to call? You can't call the Public Service Commission like you do with the utility companies. You have to call that contractor. And right now, the only thing that the cities can do is send you to Tallahassee, to Department of Business and Professional Regulations, who will then send you to the Attorney General's office, because that's the only protection we have right now.
Well,
that's why we need Amendment 1.
A very complex dead end to go down. Anyway, Joe Gibbons, we appreciate you coming in, a very spirited argument in favor of Amendment 1. Thank you for coming in. Good to see you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Too long.
All right.
Still to come, it is the last day of early voting. You actually have till 7 p.m. It's also Souls to the Polls Sunday, and it's an effort in the African American neighborhoods to get churchgoers to go vote right after services.
Hillary Clinton is counting on those votes. Will she get them? We'll talk about it when we come back.
They call it Souls to the Polls, a campaign by the Democratic Party to get out the black vote.
Churchgoers are urged to go to Sunday services and then go straight to early voting locations to cast their ballots. This is a live look from outside the North Dade Regional Library in Miami Gardens, where people can now go to vote. They've been voting for, 10 days now? Last week the weather was bad, the turnout was down, but Hillary Clinton and other Democrats are counting on a big black voter turnout today.
We want to talk about that and the turnout and its significance. Wayne Messam is the mayor of Miramar, where he'll be leading a Souls to the Polls event this afternoon. Mayor Messam got a coveted speaking slot, you may know, at last summer's Democratic National Convention. David Dorskar is the treasurer of the Black Broward Republican Club. He's a clergyman with a background in business development and education. And welcome.
Good to have you back, David. Mayor Messam, great to have you here. So you and former Labor Secretary Alexis Herman and a singer are going to be out there 1:30, Miramar City Hall. What kind of a turnout do you expect?
Well, it's the first time that we're having the Souls to the Polls in South Broward. So we've been getting the word out. We anticipate a decent crowd on the Miramar Regional Library, which is our closest early voting site, which is located right behind City Hall. So it's a great fit. We've been getting the word out to the local churches in the community to get the vote out.
Right. And obviously, the vote here in this case, you are saying you are hoping that black voters go out, vote for Hillary Clinton and other Democratic candidates, Patrick Murphy among others, right?
Yes, it's very important. You know, as a surrogate for Hillary Clinton, it is important that the black community comes out. Now, we're really encouraged about the votes this year. Currently, right now, over 600,000 African Americans have casted their vote early, and that's up from 2012 numbers. You've been hearing a lot of reports about that. The numbers are, from a percentage basis,
well, last Sunday, they were indeed below what they had been in 2012. What you're saying is now they're on a par or better than 2012?
Yes, and in fact, historically, the last 3 days, 4 days of the early voting cycle leading into the election are the days when people really come out to vote. So we're really pushing the fact that we need to get out and vote. So that's why statewide statewide, we're having Souls to the Polls, and we're happy to have it in South Broward at the Miramar Regional, Miramar City Hall.
So this Souls to the Polls event is a Democratic Party event, but David Dorskar, I'm sure the Republicans are getting out the vote as well. Is that a Souls to the Polls event too?
I think that we encourage everyone to participate because, you know, there's been such a great price that's been paid for people to have a voice. So regardless of your political affiliation, you should get out the vote.
But
David, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, the get out the vote is on all demographics. African American voters are being so focused upon today, especially. And Republican black voters with whom I've spoken this week feel like they are sort of going unnoticed, that the Democratic Party is making a big push, feeling like the African American vote is theirs. Are the Democrats taking taking all of this as sort of a foregone conclusion?
I think the confidence that the Democratic Party has is because of historical numbers. They've done significantly well with the black vote. However, most African Americans are religious. They have a lot of social conservative beliefs. I think that the Conservative Party and the Republican Party, conservative movement rather, can definitely compete for the black vote. Now, it's to say whether we're going to win this particular election with the black vote, the numbers are pretty obvious, but I do think that we could make progressive improvements.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I need to ask you this question. I heard David answer this as well. I've been to, I don't know, half a dozen Donald Trump rallies, and on TV we've all seen and heard him say to black voters, what do you have to lose? Your cities are awful, your unemployment is high, your schools are dreadful, you've got all this crime. I can fix it, give me a chance. What's your response to that?
Well, first of all, Mr. Trump needs to know that the black vote and the black community is not a monolithic group of people. We're various, we're diverse, and what we have to lose is access to jobs, access to the vote, access to the ballot. I mean, when you look across the country, with all the conservative state representatives across, they put in barriers opposed to making voting accessible. And what we have to
inaccessible. You think voter suppression has been an issue?
Well, voter suppression by the policies that these legislatures are passing nationwide. Voter IDs. I mean, it's almost it's replicating what was known to be during the Jim Crow days, but it takes on a different cloak.
A different
today.
kind of poll tax.
And the reason why African Americans are identified with the Democratic Party is because of the policies that address the needs of African Americans. You know, I am a socially conservative person, but I'm a Democrat and a proud Democrat because it's more than just the social values that are important. I want to have access to health care. I want to have access to jobs. I want to have access to education. And when you look at the policies that are presented, comparing Hillary Clinton's plan to Donald Trump's plan, which is very vague, at least to this point would have been shown, it is no question on why black voters are voting for Hillary Clinton.
So how does a socially conservative voter vote for the social policies of and experience and past of a Donald Trump?
Well, when you speak to a lot of social conservatives, you know, I was having a discussion. I went to a religious event yesterday, and I was talking to, a very big Donald Trump supporter. I mean, he probably has it on his forehead, you know, and he was really adamant, and we spoke, privately, say, well, what do you think about some of the controversies? What do you think about, just to kind of get his perspective? And the biggest thing he told me was, abortion and a lot of these key social issues that he has to choose if he has to look at both. And although Donald Trump has had, various positions on it, he feels that he has a chance with Donald Trump versus with Hillary Clinton. He knows exactly what.
A chance for what? For
a conservative, judicial nomination for conservative principles. So he's a chance for Donald Trump to stand up for that, and especially with the picking of Mike Pence, who has an amazing history of standing for social conservative values. I think that's a big,
David,
big help.
excuse me, I must point out here that if you look at Donald Trump and his company's history, he and his father were sued twice by the federal government in the 1970s for refusing to rent units, apartments in New York, and I think also Pennsylvania, to blacks. I mean, they had a policy. They would put a C on a application for a rental form, and C meant colored, and it meant don't rent to them. And they signed a settlement agreement in which they admitted no guilt, but in fact they were guilty. I think that's a given. I mean,
I think because of the history, I think that's the reason why the Trump campaign has struggled a lot with reaching out to the African American community. I think that with surrogates like Ben Carson and some of the other surrogates that he's sent out there, plus some of the language change that he's had recently. I was listening to one of his speeches where he said law and order and justice. He added that word justice, and I started to notice that he's making some tweaks that I think is his effort to reach out. But undoubtedly, he's climbing tall.
It's a tough road.
hill.
Mayor, you had mentioned that the black vote is not a monolithic vote. I think in South Florida, boy, that's certainly true. And Miramar is one of the places where there's a huge Caribbean community. Talk about the Caribbean American vote in Florida. How is that going? Is that an enthused demographic this time?
Well, I think when you look across all the issues, and for example, I don't want to take a broom and sweep across all blacks, but there are common issues. But you're looking at a Caribbean American, being a first generation myself and the first black mayor in the city of Miramar, where Miramar has a very large Caribbean community, particularly the Jamaican community and the Haitian community and the Bahamian community. But all of our issues are the same. But candidates have to work very hard to speak to the specific needs of those separate demographics. And candidates who do not identify with the specific and individual needs of the specific demographics, then they put themselves behind the 8 ball, because everyone has an issue that is concerning to them, and we have to reach those issues.
If I can, we're about out of time, but just sort of give me a bottom line here, Wayne. This, for Hillary Clinton particularly, this Sunday, Souls to the Polls, is just critical if she's going to win, or if Donald Trump is going to do well in Florida. Are you going to get people out, black voters out?
We will get black voters out. It's imperative that we get black voters out. When blacks vote and vote Democratic, we win. When we don't vote, then it can be an issue.
Real quick, you had something to say?
Yes, I think that the Caribbean Americans, I'm also, both my parents are from Haiti. I'm born and raised here in the States, but I think that the Caribbean Americans the Republican Party has a great opportunity in reaching Caribbean Americans, because they're very conservative, socially conservative, and they believe, raised in terms of you can do it. Get up, hard work, and make it happen yourself. So I think a lot of these cultural values and the way that we're brought up, I think there's a big opportunity.
All right, David Dorskar, Wayne Messam, great to have you guys in. Thank you very much. All right, after the break, we will take this and so much more to our Powerhouse Roundtable.
Stay with us.
We have all been inundated, drowned with political developments in the past week. So this morning we want to kind of break it down into manageable portions with our Powerhouse Roundtable. And boy, we've got a great one for you.
Justin Safey is an attorney and publisher of the Safey Review, a daily compilation of political news and opinion from around the state. Rosemary O'Hara is the editor of the editorial page of the Sun Sentinel and a veteran of many political wars in and out of the newsroom. Dr. Marvin Dunn is a psychologist who taught for so many years at FIU, and he's also a respected civic activist and author. And his most recent book is A History of Florida Through Black Eyes. And I love your Facebook posts. Great photographs and information, really great. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to have you all come in. Let's begin with the obvious question, which is every election cycle, presidential election cycle, wears us all out. We want to get our televisions back, get the ads off the air. But this one, Marvin Dunn, I just think it has not just exhausted us, it has repelled us. I mean, it is just as bad as I can remember.
The country can only handle so much negativity. And I think at this point, It's almost as bad as after 9/11 in terms of the psychic of the country. We're so worn out by all of this. Fortunately, another 48 hours or so, it'll all be over. But to have gotten to this point where the country is so divided and so angry and so desperately hoping for some solution to our dilemma, I've never seen anything quite like it.
You know, after 9/11, it had the opposite effect. A tragedy, a common cause, actually brought the country together. And then that all ended.
Yeah.
You know, Justin, I know we were on a panel together not too long ago about, oh, where do we go from here? And it seems like this election has just given voice to the most base human instincts among us. How do we get past that?
I wish I had an answer to that, and I wish I could be more optimistic. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm pessimistic. And the reason I'm pessimistic is because of this incredible thing called the internet. The internet is empowering, it's dispersing information, it's dispersing power, and it's really pushing, in my opinion, power out to the edges of the political spectrum. And whoever wins on Tuesday, whether it's Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, is going to have to deal with the most divided country and with citizens on the fringes and on the edges of both sides who have more power than ever before to express their views, to fundraise for candidates, and to basically hold their candidates accountable. So I don't see, even though the election will be over on Tuesday, unfortunately, I think the political combat may even get worse after Tuesday.
Rosemary, one of the effects I'm afraid that this election is going to have, and I know it concerns you, is that the language of the civil discourse that our country needs has been coarsened. It has become vulgar, and people feel maybe at a local political level they've given permission to say things they would never say before, personal insults and phrases that just have been indefensible until now.
Yes, I agree. You know, we thought that this election might be different because of the Fair Districts Amendment. You know, we were getting rid of gerrymandering, and we were going to get districts that represented that where you had to be somewhere in the middle in order to get elected. But whatever has happened at the state and in congressional level in this districts has not spilled over into the presidential race. But, you know, two things I guess I would say is our elections just last too long. You know, as the singer Sheryl Crow has got this change.org petition to shorten the time that our elections last. Hallelujah for that. But I'd also say that 4 years ago when Barack Obama was running against Mitt Romney, there was a lot of anger and antipathy and family and friends who weren't talking to one another then either. And then, you know, the next day we were Americans again.
That is exactly my point. I'm not pessimistic. I'm very optimistic because I really don't believe that the American people are going to make a tremendous mistake in electing a leader who has the temperament that Trump has. I just have the confidence that after this is all over, there's going to be a great need for a lot of us just to get this over and come back together. And yes, there will be fringe folks who will never come into the fold. We know that. But I think most Americans are fair. I don't believe that most white Americans are racist. I don't believe most Republicans are racist. I think most people want this to be over and let's come together on January 9th and move our country forward. So I'm optimistic about the future.
Is there a sort of past as prologue lesson to be learned with the Brexit vote? Because there are so many similarities with people in Britain who are just angry and want to change and wanted to make a point and wanted to be part of a movement, and the next day, after they voted to take Britain out of the EU, exactly. You know, people woke up, many people woke up and said, oh, what do we do? And now there's a push to, you know, Parliament's looking at it, which would have the effect of going against the voice of the people there. I mean, is there a lesson there somewhere?
Well, I don't know if there's a lesson yet, because right now the latest news from Great Britain is that they may have to go back to Parliament now, and that's creating even further division in the country.
Exactly.
So that's exactly what I fear may happen in this country. Is that it's in that instance it was, you know, London and the suburbs there, they were for Remain, and the rest of the country, or a lot of the rest of the country, was for Brexit. And so here, if you look at the electoral map, you're going to have certain pockets of the country that are for one candidate and certain pockets that are for the other candidate. And I just think that even if Hillary Clinton wins, that she's going to have to protect her flank, the Bernie Sanders flank of the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders raised a lot of money online. He has a lot of people that are very active in the Democratic Party. And then you're going to have the Republicans, they're going to be upset that Hillary won. I think it's the country is almost going to become ungovernable for her or for Donald Trump, should Donald Trump win for the same reason.
Wow, that's quite the prediction.
Well,
sorry.
Well, I hope you're wrong, but thanks for your honesty. You know, I have to say, I have to say, this week on Wednesday, I covered a Donald Trump rally at Bayfront Park, and yesterday afternoon, I was in Pembroke Pines for a big Hillary Clinton rally. One of the things that Donald Trump said, Rosemary, that I really find disturbing, I'm not speaking as a partisan here, is when he says the system is rigged, and the implication is you can't trust these election results unless, of course, I win, but he says he's going to keep us in suspense. I mean, this really calls into question the bedrock of American democracy, which is a smooth transition, whether Mitt Romney had won or Barack Obama had won. I mean, our history, our tradition is for one president to gracefully say, okay, you got it, go ahead, and good luck.
Right, and I don't know that graceful is the adjective most people would use for Donald Trump. And the truth is that running an election is a big machine with a lot of moving parts. And there's going to be little hiccups in different places that happen. There already have been. But to suggest that in Florida, for example, that 67 supervisors of elections have colluded in order to rig this election is just, it flies in the face. And so it's like he is laying the groundwork to say, I lost, not because of me, not because of what I stand for or what I've said. I lost because, you know, it was rigged.
I'm much more concerned about Putin rigging the election.
I was just thinking that.
Where are all those conservative Republicans who are so anti-communist? And the reality of this man is manipulating our election. Why are they not saying this is wrong? It's just incredible to me that that Putin releases what he chooses to release on Clinton, but never on Trump. And the conservative Republicans seem to have no problem with this. I don't get that.
I think a lot of Republicans are voting for Trump not because they really like him, but you know, it's sort of they have to believe that his appointments to the court will be good. They really truly believe that in the right to life. And so they're holding their nose. And so, you know, a lot of good Republican, good people who don't like their candidate but don't want to go down this other route either.
And a huge anti-Hillary Clinton vote.
Yes.
People do not
Yes.
like her.
I know a lot of Democrats, some at the rally yesterday, who said, I'm holding my nose, but I'm with her. So everybody, hold your thoughts. We'll be back with more Roundtable in just a minute. Welcome back live in our studio on this Sunday. A really terrific roundtable. Rosemary O'Hara of the Sun Sentinel, Justin Safey of the Safey Review, Dr. Marvin Dunn, psychologist, author. Let's talk a little bit about Amendment 1, the Solar Power Energy Amendment. Rosemary, I know the Sun Sentinel said this is
a scam.
A scam.
Yes. You know, Senator Gibbons says that we need to protect your right to solar. There's nobody who is talking about taking away your right to solar. It's already in statute. To put it in the Constitution, an emerging technology, to put it in the Constitution where it's not easy to deal with as it emerges, is not the right place. There's only one industry that is threatened by your right to solar, and it is the big utility companies. And as you pointed out, they're the ones who are backing this amendment and continue to run this ad with the firefighter, even though the Firefighters Association has withdrawn its endorsement.
Dr. Dunn?
I was just going to say, I think it is a scam. And they just may pull it off because the way that amendment is worded could be very, I had trouble understanding it. And I have a PhD, I had trouble trying to work my way through what they were saying. But the fact that so much money was put into this by the power companies gave me pause to begin with. And now with these great editorials and information coming out on the internet, we now know that this is something that Florida does not need.
You know, it's going to be really interesting to see because the opposition really didn't get going until late in the game. And so I've spoken to more than a few people who had mailed in their ballots with a yes, thinking, oh, solar, great. And then realized, how do I take that vote back? So it'll be really interesting to see how the absentees come in on the amendment and, You know, now, of course, there is a huge groundswell of opposition. Justin, I know you have the movers and shakers at a conference coming up. Well, what's your take on that? Including FPNL.
Well,
right?
on Amendment 1, I mean, I think that, look, Florida is a sunshine state. So I think, unfortunately, this issue has gotten clouded. There's a legitimate issue in terms of how do we expand solar in the state of Florida. And the power companies feel that they've invested all the money with the ratepayers to provide an infrastructure, to provide power to everybody. And their concern is that if people start going off the grid, they still have to, by law, continue to provide that infrastructure to everybody that's on the grid. And so there's a cost issue here that's a legitimate issue, that a public policy issue that needs to be discussed as to how we're going to allocate those sunk costs. Unfortunately, I think a lot of that discussion hasn't really been adequately addressed by the conversation that's taken place on this amendment.
And so that said, would it be right to say that if they put this in the Constitution, that is just the anvil that drops on any sort of decision and public policy that can be made as the industry progresses?
Well, the people of the state of Florida would be making that decision, basically. If we get 60% of the vote for Amendment 1, the people of the state of Florida will have spoken, and they'll basically have said that if you decide to go off the grid because you're powering yourself with solar energy, that the other ratepayers aren't going to subsidize that decision. And that's the decision they will make. So yeah, it would prevent legislative action in the future.
If we get to a point where half the people in Florida have solar panels, then we need to have that conversation about how do we maintain the grid. But right now, we only have 12,000 people who have these rooftops. Yeah. We need to encourage this and then have that conversation, have it out in the legislature. Do not cement something in the Constitution.
Right. Yeah. Marvin, I need to ask your opinion on this. We obviously had a discussion here earlier, Wayne Messam and David Rorschach, on souls to the polls. And Mayor Messam, a very estimable guy, says, oh, we're getting the same turnout as we had in 2012.
I doubt that.
I just cannot, frankly, believe that. I mean, when African-American voters had the second chance to vote for the first black president of this country, they turned out, I think, 92% of the vote was for, of the black vote was obviously for Barack Obama. They're not, I mean, they like Hillary Clinton overall, but they're not going to turn out in those numbers.
No, that's not to be expected. And I am not even sure that it's all that needed. If Clinton can do very well with the black vote, say 85, 90% of the black vote, I think she'll be safe enough in terms of that.
And Hispanic vote, Rosemary, has just been really outstanding.
Yeah, no, I mean, if she wins, the Hispanic vote is what's going to drive her over the top. An interesting number from the polls. Nationwide, Hillary's unfavorability number is a little higher than her favorability numbers, but the Telemundo poll showed that she is like 20, among Hispanics, her favorabilities are 26 percentage points higher. So Hispanics love her, and people are telling me, you know, they're getting calls from their family back in Colombia, back in Venezuela. Everything is on the line for
and the Puerto Ricans in Central Florida, a sleeping tool that's going to come to the fore for the Democrats.
All right, before we have to say goodbye, I want to recommend, here's a printout of today's Sun Sentinel editorial about the little cesspool known as Hallandale Beach.
Thank you,
and
Michael.
all their political issues, and it's a great editorial. Sorry we didn't get time to it. Rosemary,
thanks for mentioning it.
Of course, Justin, Marvin, great to have you come in.
And as a matter of fact, when we return, Hallandale Beach is the topic. The vice mayor, who was caught on tape accepting secret gifts from a developer, is now apparently taking others down with him. Stay with us.
Somewhere 300 people out in the street for you when you run for office.
First, tape-recorded evidence of pay-to-play that put Hallandale Beach's vice mayor under law enforcement scrutiny. That vice mayor, who's also commissioner, Bill Julian, his actions are already under investigation by the state attorney's office in Broward County.
And now another audio recording seems to implicate one more Hallandale Beach official possibly violating the public trust. Local 10 News investigator Bob Norman has the story.
I don't give campaign advice.
The denial came loud and clear from Hallandale Beach City Attorney V. Lynn Whitfield.
Have you been
engaging in campaigns with
No.
certain commissioners?
No, I don't do elections.
Whitfield insisted she doesn't give campaign advice to commissioners on her dais, and that's a good thing, since it's not only a clear conflict of interest, but also might be a crime, as state law makes it a misdemeanor for municipal officials to use their influence to interfere with elections in their own city. Okay, can you listen to this?
No.
What Whitfield didn't know is that I obtained an audio tape of an inadvertently recorded conversation she had with her city's vice mayor, Bill Julian.
Vice Mayor, let me just say this, because I can't really advise you on personal stuff, and definitely I don't advise on election stuff, okay?
But then she gives him campaign advice.
Plan out, list out, okay, this is how they going to try to come after me.
Yeah.
This is my response. This is what I can show.
I got to be ready for that, yeah.
And just be ready for that.
Yeah.
And just, and just smile.
I tried to play the recording for her.
I don't give campaign advice to
But I
anyone.
have you on tape
Mr. Norman,
talking
I am
about
not
giving campaign
responding
advice.
to you.
The recording is one of at least 10 that Julian accidentally left behind on a voicemail when he apparently failed to hang up his phone properly after listening to a robocall.
Maybe Bill Julian needs to be reminded that
attacking him politically.
Commissioner Lazaro, you think that's her? Oh, no, that's her voice.
Whitfield blamed the robocall on Commissioner Michelle Lazaro, who, along with Keith London, is engaged in political battle with Julian and his chief ally, Mayor Joy Cooper.
That's Lazaro.
Lazaro said she had nothing to do with the robocall.
I'm filing a bar complaint.
Whitfield also gives Julian political advice aimed at London.
He voted for it. So technically, he voted against all that stuff, too.
She's a conflict of interest. She gave personal and campaign advice to Bill Julian. That breaks our charter. She's got to go.
In Hollandale Beach, Bob Norman, Local 10 News.
Both Julian and Lazaro are part of races, the outcomes of which could determine control of Hallandale Beach.
Wow. Well, still to come, my personal perspective about an election season unlike any we have ever seen. Before we leave you this morning, a personal perspective about the election season that thankfully is about to come to a close. I've never seen one like it, and I bet neither have you. We are all suffering high anxiety from this ugly presidential race. The only thing that'll cure it is to get it over and done with. I pray that'll happen on Tuesday. We don't have hanging chads anymore. Instead, we have optical scanners and I think an efficient voting system. I have faith in the integrity of Florida's election system. Yes, we had a couple of people arrested in Miami recently for minor league vote fraud. They were the exception and they were caught before any fraudulent votes were counted. Nevertheless, Donald Trump continues to say the system is rigged, implying the final outcome may be in question. That's just wrong. Neither Donald Trump or anyone else has presented any proof, any evidence of widespread or even minor vote fraud. This baseless allegation strikes at the heart of the American electoral process. If we can't trust our government to get the voting results right, then we undermine trust in the way American democracy works. In my view, it works just fine. Yes, a few glitches here and there, but overwhelmingly, the electoral system has integrity. The nasty political season we have all endured has been uninspiring, depressing, and yet about half of all of Florida's nearly 13 million voters have already voted. Maybe 60% will have voted by Tuesday, Election Day. That's amazing. Way to go, fellow citizens. If you haven't voted yet and don't plan to, I urge you reconsider. Some choices on the ballot might be unsavory, but it's better to choose one dog over the other. And if you think your vote doesn't count, doesn't make a difference, let me assure you it does. You can bet that late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, we will be telling you about races where two candidates were separated by a handful of votes. Back in 2000 in Florida, it was just 537 votes that elected a president. You've still got until 7 o'clock this evening to vote. Vote early or go to the polls Tuesday. That's when I like to vote, Election Day. I cherish the right to vote on Election Day. I know you probably do too. I love getting that little sticker that says, I voted, sticking it on your lapel, on your shirt, on your blouse. Wear it proudly. It says you not only voted for your candidate, but you voted for America, for our community, for a way of life. for our values. Democracy is not a spectator sport. My hat is off to you. If I were wearing one, my hat is off for all that you have done at the polling polls so far. Thanks. Is this a great country or what? That is my perspective for this week. Hope you have a wonderful Sunday, and maybe the Dolphins may even win. Remember, as always, stay informed, get involved.
And talk to us. We want to hear about whatever you think on any topic in the news that you like. Here are all the ways you can reach us. There are probably a few more. Absolutely. Get to the polls today, your last day of early voting until 7 p.m. or Tuesday. Thanks for being with us.